Hey, sports fans, it's Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is our program, Socialing the Distance. We're featuring Colin Gallagher today. And Colin is a fifth-year student at Clemson University. He was at St. Joseph's before that, correct? St.
Yep.
Joseph's? Okay. And he is a fifth-year senior? Is that how you would call it? Okay. Distance runner at the 5 and 10. And Colin, welcome to RunBlogRun.
Thanks for having me.
Want to talk about some sad stuff right now, some challenging things, which is that Clemson University has announced that they're going to shut down the men's track and field program and cross country starting in June of 2021. You guys are also told that don't try to protest it. Don't try to raise money. This is a fait accompli. This baby's over. What were your first thoughts when you heard about this?
Yeah, so funny enough, it was actually my birthday when this all came out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the worst birthday gift I've been given. So it's funny that we got a text basically saying everyone, the whole team, be here, which was a little strange. Usually the team, especially with COVID, we hadn't all been in one spot, sprints, jumps,
Sure, yeah.
So we knew something was up. We weren't sure what. Cross country just competed at ACCs. We thought maybe it was like a congratulations thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I thought indoor season was canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
But then obviously the news came down. And my first reaction was I was just embarrassed for the most part.
Yeah.
Me being a new student here in a fifth year, I hadn't formed that affinity just yet for Clemson. Whereas my teammates obviously were very upset, visibly so. I was more so embarrassed because I came to Clemson to uphold that standard of athletic, prestige that this university has.
Sure.
That decision was quite the opposite, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mark Elliott is your coach. He's 5,000 meter record holder still down at LSU. You like him as a coach?
Yeah, he's great. He's very organized, keeps the team going, good mentality, sets a good tone.
It sounds like he was blindsided by this too. Is that what you believe?
Yeah, so from what we know, our coaches found out only an hour or so before this.
Wow.
Before us, I should say.
Wow.
Which is interesting to me. Usually when this type of stuff happens, you'll see a year's worth of, scholarship limitations, roster cuts, something.
Mm-hmm.
So for this all to just come down from 0 to 100, teams gone next year.
Where we were at is I'd asked you about Mark Elliott, who's your coach, and it sounds like he was blindsided, and you were starting to respond to that.
Yeah, so from what we know, our coaches found out about this only hours before we did as athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, usually when this type of stuff goes down, you'll see roster limitations, scholarship cuts,
Yep.
a few months, if not a year of effort on the AD's part. But we didn't see that in this decision. If anything, it was convenient, seemingly, for the AD to do this, quick and easy on his part. So,
it seems like, Mr. Radakovich has had this is his MO, and what we understand is there's potential $25 million in challenges with the athletic department at Clemson, and the track and field was budgeted at $2 million, and he sees it as saving $2 million. But it sounds like more than anything, it gives him a chance to put Title IX off for a few years. And he did the same at Georgia Tech. He took cross country down. I think it was at South Carolina. And it's in the end of the day, it's athletes like you who get hurt. Tell me why you got involved in the Save Clemson track and field and cross country program. I know.
Yeah. So initially, and it wasn't, on purpose or anything. It was just the quick reaction of we're going to do something to fight this, despite the language the AD put out. That wasn't very hopeful in regards to trying to fight this.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I mean, with being new and not having that affinity just yet for Clemson, my reaction right away was to jump into action, especially while my teammates were kind of thinking about transferring or just trying to take it all in. So we were quick to do the stuff that usually is created within the first 24 hours of this happening. So a GoFundMe, a website, social media accounts, to kind of just get the ball rolling in the right direction if we were really going to keep fighting it.
What's been the biggest challenge so far?
So the biggest challenge is just keeping people motivated, keeping people organized. Obviously, especially early on, there's a lot of energy that wanted to go in different directions. So the idea was trying to get us as organized as possible to make sure we're making conscientious efforts towards, progress in the right direction of actually having a conversation with Clemson leadership or finding some way to fight this.
I understand that there was a protest walk a few weeks ago. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we organized a very successful march through downtown Clemson, which isn't much, but obviously there's students and news media, 2 or 3 news outlets locally covered us. And we marched to the president's campus house and office, I believe. And we basically, stood out front of his house with signs, chanted, large group of people, a bunch of people gave speeches about how they felt and what we're going to do about this. We had shirts made, about 200, 300 shirts made, wristbands, the whole thing.
Cool.
We were quick to put stuff out downtown and on social media, so the students are the first ones aware of this. We actually left the signage we had printed up, Save Clemson track and stuff on the president's doorstep.
Oh, wow.
We could not ignore it. We ran by it today, the distance team, and it's gone. They actually decorated for Christmas. So whether it was him or people helping decorate the house, someone definitely saw it if they didn't see us on social media.
Yeah, good. What do you want people to know about Save Clemson track and field and cross country?
I'd say that first and foremost, we're not necessarily fighting for us in a selfish manner of we want track back because Colin wants to run. We want track because more than anything, this is setting a dangerous tone for track and field as a whole in the NCAA, as well as this is just simply embarrassing on Clemson's part. I mean, this is an institution that is earmarked as one of the most prestigious athletic and academic universities in the country. I mean, you don't see Harvard lowering their educational offerings. Clemson is one of the best athletic schools in the country. We shouldn't be getting rid of sports. Yeah.
What? How has the AD handled your comments, your thoughts, your protest? Has he made any comments?
As of right now, he's silent. And it'd be one thing for him to be silent and unaware, but we know that he is aware. We have reason to believe, very, very good reason to believe that he is aware and has seen what we're putting out regarding his decision. So as of right now, he's just being silent. He's probably trying to wait us out. But we're not going to let that happen.
What's the most important thing to do to keep this alive?
So the most important thing is just keep spreading the news. The more media that can cover us, the more people that can get involved, the more people of power or influence that can really get into the ears of the president of the university, as well as athletic leadership. That's what's going to make the difference. We're aware that he can try to ignore as long as he wants, but it's very empowering actually to see how quickly a group of 20-year-old male and females can get together, as well as the alumni and fellow supporters, to get connected, get the people we need, and start making a difference in this. And we're building a lot of momentum. We've done a lot so far, but we're truly just getting started. So we're excited to see where this all goes.
What has the president of the university said anything?
The president of the university has also been silent. It's one thing I'd say for the athletic director to ignore this. I think that's what most athletic directors would do in this situation, especially this early.
Yeah.
But for the president to also be aware, from what we know, especially the fact that we were literally on his front porch for a whole day, basically, chanting, whether or not he was there doesn't matter, but he's being quiet and he is complicit in this decision in some way, whether he approved it or allowed it. And he needs to set the correct standard for the university. And the fact that he is also in talks to be the upcoming ACC commissioner is something that I think people need to recognize and consider in this. Both from the standpoint of the ACC, is that who you want leading the organization? And from Clemson's perspective of he might be more involved in this decision with Dan Radakovich than we think.
What, when Mr. Radakovich spoke, I understand he said that you would need $60 million for an endowment to keep men's track and cross country going. Is that what you understand too?
So Dan had mentioned, we actually questioned him upright, asking, could we try crowdfunding for this?
Yeah.
And that's when he pulled the $60 million figure. And then more not hopeful language on his part said that is not a figure worth burdening others to raise. The $60 million figure seemingly was out of thin air. I understand that he was pulling that based off endowment figures, not the actual $2 million.
Yeah, so like if you have $60 million in an endowment and you're making 5% a year, that's in a good year, that's about $3 million that you could pull out. And in a bad year, if you're making 3%, that means that you've got your $2 million. So that's a nice way of putting it, but it takes a while to raise $60 million. Did he give you guys any room if you could raise a certain amount of money, if you could bring in sponsors, that he would talk about anything?
No, he basically, like I said, he pulled the $60 million number and was not hopeful in it. He pulled that and said that's not worth burdening others to raise.
Yeah. I like that line, not burdening. He doesn't want to have to deal with it. It seems to me, in the information that you're telling me and what Mike Boudreau and Cameron Jones said as well, is that Mr. Radakovich had this all planned out, and that the coaches didn't know about it because he didn't want them to know about it. And essentially, when you're running a program where there's one person rather authoritarian, I think it's quite ironic in a university setting, especially where you're talking about the free expression and the idea of discussing ideas that, one person on one side, one person on another, and you're trying to respect that, that he is really trying to limit your ability at free expression is a interesting challenge as well. What else do you guys think you can do to bring Clemson's cross-country and track program back?
Yeah, so I think the next best thing we can do, and it's an angle we are considering, the girls team is affected by this as well.
Sure.
Programs that don't offer men's side sponsorship, the women's team is almost always at the bottom rankings of their conference. So the women will be affected by this in the future. If anything, they could be on the chopping block as the next team to go as well, especially under Dan Radakovich's.
Yeah.
So they're motivated to get involved. We're still playing that angle and seeing what we can do because we want to make sure they're safe. But that's probably another thing we can do as well, just continue to get the story out, continue to get media coverage.
What's Mr. Radakovich's relationship with the local media?
Dan has had no relations with the local media from what I know. Like I said, we are aware that he has seen what we're putting out. Personally, I'm not sure if he's seen what has gone on the local and regional news, but we are aware that he is completely aware of what we're putting out.
Okay, now, someone smarter than me told me one time that if you're going to fight the good fight, you've got to understand what your what's your challenger, what's the people you're up against, what's their currency. What does Radakovich want? Does he just want to win? Does he want to bring his budget down? Does he want to get rid of what he sees as a nuisance sport? What is he trying to do?
I think he is motivated by the recent success of the university. I think he's caught up in the football arms race. Mm-hmm. Now, it should be said, you're not against football at all. Trust me, I root for those guys every weekend.
Yeah.
But sometimes with great success, you get blinded by that.
Mm-hmm.
And as we mentioned earlier, there's also certainly some personal biases of his that have shown throughout his career. And I think his part, he's trying to play that and get rid of this team he could see as a nuisance, a burden, whatever it be.
Mm-hmm. How has the student newspaper and the student body dealt with it?
So we've been able to connect with a decent amount of the student body. We've been in one or two student newspapers, most of which have kind of just detailed this all. It hasn't really gone into the depth of the arguments at hand, but the greater majority of the student body, from what we know, is in full support of us and rooting for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that plays out. It's also interesting, whether or not this was on purpose, I don't know, but the decision came out right before Thanksgiving break.
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving break, because of COVID, student body does not return until spring semester. The athletes are here.
Okay.
The athletes are here to train, and we will go back for Christmas break to our homes and then come back for spring semester. But from Thanksgiving till mid-January, there will be no regular student body here, only athletes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a good thing to consider too. What else do you want to get out there? What other kind of information do you need to tell us? I know that Clemson has had a long tradition of track and field. I know that while the state of South Carolina has 26% African American population, Clemson has about 6% African American population. And in the three sports that you guys have, football, are three sports that where 93% of African American males participate, which are track and field, basketball, and football. Cutting out one of those sports is obviously going to harm the number of Black young males who will be coming to Clemson. And I just saw a video up where Radakovich said, well, this isn't about racism. And the student body president said, this isn't about racism. But I think the video that you guys did clearly shows that racism plays a part. Would you care to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I'd say that we don't believe that Dan Radakovich, woke up and was like, I need to get rid of this minority part of the school. No human being or athletic director in his right mind would do that. Mm-hmm. What we are doing is revealing the optics and the hypocrisy behind this.
Yeah.
I mean, 2020, with the unprecedented times, this school was a leader in voicing our unity and opinion on social change in this country. Dan himself, President Clements himself, were in full support. The student body created a unity movement to stand with one another, specifically our minority athletes, during these unprecedented times.
Mm-hmm.
The student made that, the student athletes. Clemson ran with it, made it a marketing holy grail.
Yeah.
And now they cut the third most diverse program in the school, which is wildly decorated and diverse, seemingly no reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are just making people aware of the optics of it all, trying to reveal the hypocrisy of it so that people can make their own assumptions, form their own opinions.
How has Radakovich responded to that? Or has he responded?
He has not responded. Again, we know that he is aware of the video we put out, specifically enlightening him to the optics of this. But right now he has still been silent.
You guys did a great video which we just posted on our social media, talking about how the money's played a part in it, how racism plays a part in it, how the actual property that Clemson was on was a plantation. How has that been received locally?
It's done what we thought it would do. It's caused a plethora of emotions. We've got plenty of people engaging with the posts in discomfort, in support, all sorts of opinions, but it's done what we wanted in getting the optics out, making people aware they can form their own opinion. They're more than welcome to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the video, for the most part, I'd say was well received. The people who are open to having these meaningful conversations about this decision.
Yeah.
But it's certainly done its part of the plan, which was, making people aware of this.
What else would you like our readers to know about what you're trying to do? Is the main goal? The main goal is to get Clemson's track and cross country programs, the men's track cross country programs, back and to be respected as they had been in the past. But also, it seems like you guys are making a statement about this could happen anywhere else. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just what you said. I mean, obviously we want to fight for our own right. We want this team. We are embarrassed by this. We want to uphold our future alma mater's, reputation. We don't want to be known as that school that started the domino effect.
Yeah.
Because we go, in a few years, the girls team might go. In a few years, track and field goes at all the Power 5 schools. And next thing you know, track and field is obsolete in the NCAA landscape.
Why do you think people think track and field is expendable?
I'd say because it's a convenient decision for athletic directors to make, simply because, like we said earlier, it's not the most widely supported sport. The coaches kind of do their own thing, focus on their athletes. The athletes themselves aren't usually outlandish or, very influential figures. We keep to ourselves. We focus on the team. We focus on the goals at hand. But what COVID-19 specifically is doing is it's really revealing the priorities of major universities and how they see their sports teams and avenues to higher education, some of which value, the major football, basketball type schools. And then some are looking at things as we don't need track and field for whatever reason.
What else would you like to say to our readers about your team's position on the decision by Mr. Radakovich about closing down the program? And where should we look for updates and more information?
Yeah, so first of all, help us in any way you can. Connect us, support us. The easiest way to do that is SaveClemsonXCTF.com. That's where we've kind of been putting information out, as well as building a little army of supporters to do whatever we need, whether that's social media postings, emailing the right people so we're heard, reaching out. But what's been great about this all is the connections we're forming with other universities, alumni, random individual supporters throughout the country. We're quickly getting connected and finding the people in the right areas of interest we need, whether it's someone to get right in Dan Radakovich's ear, someone to get in the president's ear. That's what we're doing. So whatever you can do to help connect us, expose us to the media, however it be, we just need to get this message out, because if we go, eventually NCAA college track and field goes too.
What kind of support have you gotten from the women's team?
The women's team is ready at the drop of the hat to do whatever that they need possible to help us. I mean, they've obviously helped us with the nitty gritty of emailing, talking to people, pulling supporters, posting on social media, but they're strongly considering getting deeper involved, whether that be posting their seasons or looking into further pressuring Dan in whatever way possible. But we're making sure to do everything in a timely manner, as well as make sure we're not putting anyone on the line that doesn't need to be put on the line.
Is there a line? Okay, right now you're putting consistent pressure on Radakovich, the board president. And one of the things I heard from one of the earlier interviews was that people have respected what you guys have done because you've done it in such a way that you're thoughtfully commenting, you're putting pressure, but you're not shoving it in anyone's face. I thought the video was brilliant, and that just the approach, but also putting the information in one place for people to see and go, God, there's something to this. Has there anything been negative in terms of if some people said, giving you trouble about protesting and say, yeah, you should just take it?
There's certainly some individuals out there who basically say, well, that's on you for not participating in a sport that makes money. This is a business. Of course, the schools is going to cut teams that don't make money.
Yeah.
Or some people are uncomfortable about us exposing the racial optics of this. But
yeah, that's what I was wondering. But it's there, and it's a fact of life. And I don't think you guys overdid it at all. I was quite impressed the way that you targeted it, the way you put the facts there and you let them speak for themselves.
Exactly.
And that's what I respected about it. We do decks all the time, and an effective deck gets people's minds and engages them, and you're engaging people. So that's a big deal. A couple other questions, a couple other things come to mind. So this is they're going to close down the men's indoor and outdoor track programs and cross country, correct? Now, does that count as 3 sports at Clemson? Or how do they work that? Indoor track and out? I mean, because I was just curious about how they do that. When was, do you have any idea when Clemson's track and field program was formed? How many years they've had a track and field program?
I believe we've had a program for about 100 years now. I know some people are putting out that we had been like around 50 or so, but we had some form of organized serious club or NCAA sponsored for 100 years now.
Before this happened, did you guys have any idea that this was coming up at all? Was there any suggestion?
No.
Was there any rumors? Okay. I was just very curious because
not whatsoever. And
normally when
again, I mean, usually before this stuff happens, at least.
Yeah, and leaks or something. So this, what it tells you is, I think your hunches are right, that this was well planned, well orchestrated. They wanted to give you as little time to respond to it. They wanted as few people around to respond to it, because the more numbers there are, the more, tweets he can have, Mr. Radakovich can have, or emails or phone calls from irate parents, which, they won't like either. Have you guys thought about talking to some of the sponsors of your of sports at the school? Are you guys approaching it from that way at all?
Yeah, we've looked into it, and I'm pretty sure people kind of trying to work and explore that angle. Mm-hmm. Obviously, sponsors in any regard, whether it be donors, as well as immediate notable sponsors, Nike, Coca-Cola, that sort of thing. The blessing and curse at Clemson is athletics is largely funded by IPTE, which is the donors kind of funding system. Mm-hmm. Track and field is not regarded as major alumni donors, which I think Dan took into account when making a decision. Whether that be he was understood that we might struggle to fundraise, that we're just not this university upon graduation.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to approach sponsors, or is that something you guys are considering? Are you going to try to raise the money to keep the program going? Where are your guys' thoughts on that right now, or is this just a little too early?
Yeah, so we have a GoFundMe, and we're making efforts to fundraise. We're probably going to ramp that up.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, as many carrots as we can have to dangle.
Sure.
As many variables in play, as many carrots to present. Because if that reveals his priorities, or vice versa, if we have other things on the table.
So we're going to try to wrap this up. I want to thank you for your time today. We're going to send people to your website. The hashtag is SaveClemson track and field cross country. Is it TFXC or XCTF? I'm trying to remember.
Hashtag SaveClemsonXCTF. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Okay. We're going to get this the video out, and we will get this interview set up. We're going to send it to you. We'll get the breakouts as well. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for your honesty, and I thank you for your love of athletics. And we're going to do everything we can to support you. So, Colin, thank you very much. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun and our program Socialing the Distance. We've had Colin Gallagher. He's a student in his 5th year, went to St. Joseph's undergrad, and is now at Clemson, is a 5th-year graduate student, and he is involved with the movement to save Clemson cross country and track and field for the men. So, Colin, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Yep. All right.
Good job, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
It happens. We deal with it, so don't worry about it. And hey, have a good weekend. Thanks again. Hey, sports fans, it's Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is the epilogue of Socialing the Distance. Today we featured Colin Gallagher. He's a 5th-year graduate student at Clemson University. He spent his first 4 years at St. Joseph's in Philadelphia, another fine institution. And he's a 5,000, 10,000 meter runner. And Colin's involved, as have been Mike Boudreau, the alum, and also Cameron Jones, the current student athlete at Clemson, in the Save Clemson XCTF program. They've got a GoFundMe page. They've got social media. They've got a website, and we encourage you to follow them. We'll be posting things from them on our sites, and we will. We really think this is a worthy cause. Unfortunately, they've got the perfect storm. You've got COVID. You've got a school that sees a possible $25 million shortfall, and Mr. Radakovich, the athletic director, has a few weapons in his magic bag. And when he was at a previous school, he cut the cross-country program for men. And at another school, he cut the men's track program. So it seems like, and just from his actions, because I don't know the man, it seems like that this is a rather easy way for him to operate. What is fascinating and astounding, and that a university would allow this, is that he's tried to do this with as little discussion as possible. And he told the athletes that in order to save the program, they had to raise $60 million for an endowment. Now, technically, $60 million at 3% would give you about $2.5 million a year. So that makes sense. So what he wants is, he doesn't want the sports program to have to cover anything at the athletic department at Clemson. Just track and field if you want it. Here's what you got to do. Here's the deal. It's hypocritical. It's antithetical to what Clemson stands for. Clemson University has been on the anti-racism ride for a while and supporting student athletes. And now they come out with taking the second most popular sport for African American males. So 93% of young black males who compete in college sports, they're in football, they're in track and field, and they're in basketball. Well, basketball team's pretty damn small. Football team's bigger than the average track team. A lot of times, well, let's go back and forth. I think the average college team is about 38, and the average men's football team is about 85. But you can really run one with 50, but that's a whole nother thing, and I'll get hate mail. So where we're at is that Mr. Radakovich saw an easy way to save a couple million. He could get patted on the back. He also thought he could probably intimidate the kids and the track coach, and I think it's not going his way. What is Mr. Radakovich's currency? Well, he wants everybody to shut the hell up and let him do what he knows best. And I'm just telling you what the guy's done before. Took out a men's cross-country program, took out a track and field program, just wiped them out, okay? Now, doesn't mean he didn't have legitimate reasons to do those things. At the end of the day, his job is financial. And AD doesn't need to be touchy-feely. They are running a business. And if they don't run the business, and they don't run it well and properly, the president of the university can ask them to go fishing or something else. And Mr. Radakovich probably likes his time at Clemson, likes Clemson University, doesn't really know any track athletes, doesn't really care. And, well, it's $2 million, and it gets them, what, 1/10 of the way, 1/12 of the way to where he needs to be. But here's the deal. Yeah, it is hypocritical and it's antithetical to the university, and they should be ashamed. You're cutting out probably a third of the young black males who compete in sports at Clemson, and the sports you're going to support are golf, okay, tennis, a lot of African Americans compete in tennis. Let's see what else you're going to put in there that's going to give some more opportunities. I don't think you guys even care. So we are supporting the athletes, the alums, the former athletes, the fans, the students, the concerned track fans. And we encourage all of you to put a few bucks in. We encourage all of you to pass around the great content that's coming from the Save Clemson cross country and track and field. We also want you to know that Dan Radakovich, find him on social media and call him out. Mr. Clemens, the president, find him on social media and call him out, because he's put out wow, I don't love racism. Well, I don't like, little animals getting hurt either, but it's a pretty generic thing to say. And I'm looking at your actions. And Mr. Clemens, and Mr. Radakovich, your actions say a lot more than your words. Colleges, universities are about the free exchange of ideas. And I have to support you believing something completely opposite from me. Now, this isn't about fake news or any of that kind of stuff. You can have a discussion, a thoughtful discussion, with a Democrat and a Republican, with a communist and a Republican, with a socialist and a Republican. And you don't need to call all Democrats socialists. You don't need to call Republicans crazy or right wings. The university is about learning and about the free exchange of ideas and about experiences. And athletics is part of that experience. And track and field is at least one of the oldest, if not the oldest sport in the world, okay? In ancient Sumeria, they were doing track and field type games, okay? 5,000 years ago, all right? So anyway, what our friends at Clemson, Mr. Radakovich was trying to get an easy answer for a more complex issue. If he'd opened it up to the community, if he'd had a few meetings, he might have found an alum who could drop a few bucks to help. He also might have found some other ways to do some things and save some money in some other sports, because it's going to affect all of his sports. He's trying for the easy answer, which means he doesn't understand the absolute sophistication of his challenge and how it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And cutting track and field isn't going to help him take care of the problem. So what you need to do, dear students, dear athletes, dear fans, dear supporters of Clemson cross country and track and field, is you need to put pressure on this charming athletic director and this charming president at Clemson and remind them what a university is about and what hypocrisy is and how their actions are different from their words. And you also need to find a couple people with some big bucks who want to keep the program going. They're out there. You got to call them. Wanted to thank Colin again, Colin Gallagher. And this is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun, Socialing the Distance. We featured Colin Gallagher, a fifth-year student, graduate student at Clemson, and we discussed with him the attempt by the university to shut down discourse over the Clemson men's cross-country and track programs being canceled. Larry Eder, signing out. If you like us, there's a Twitter site, there's a Facebook site, there's an Instagram site. Like us there. If you love us, subscribe on YouTube. Thanks again. Stay safe.